For more on this, we're joined by technology journalist and author Chris Stokel-Walker in Newcastle in the UK. Welcome back to the programme, Chris. Now, do you think Europe is too late in developing its own digital industries?
Well, one thing that we know is that this will take an awful lot of time. So if they are trying to run down the clock and beat Donald Trump out of the presidency in 2028, then yes, unfortunately, I think that they are probably too late to have done this. It should have been something that was perhaps done 10 years ago when there was the first warning signs that perhaps America might not be an overly reliable partner. But even then, I suppose it's better late than never, and that is important that they are doing this because of some of the challenges that you've outlined there.
Right, and it will still have to outsource a lot of the elements to build its infrastructure. How will that complicate things for Europe?
It'll be enormously difficult because we talked about there the EU Chips Act and the importance that they're putting on that, doubling their share of the global semiconductor production capacity to 20%. But the problem with that is that actually producing semiconductors requires a very fine global interplay of lots of different areas and lots of different locations. So the rare earth minerals that are important for that, they are often either mined in Africa or they are then in China. You then go and have them refined at factories in Europe. They move back to production facilities, usually in the Far East or increasingly now in the United States. Of course, Europe wants to try and keep them within that continent. But an idea of going from A to Z in terms of the entire process from within Europe alone, I think, is going to be enormously difficult, if not impossible.
And by lowering its dependence on both the US and Chinese software, how much does that impact broader trade ties with both?
Yeah, well, we know that very recently Europe went into not a deficit with its trade with the United States and export and import. And actually, that is a good move. But truthfully, the reality is that this is a big market. And so it will have an impact there. The problem, of course, is again that actually the capabilities of European developers are very, very strong. But to do this and to be able to actually get our own homegrown software champions, you need to be offering better terms, better money, and all of this sort of stuff. We saw relatively recently a shift to EU Inc., which was a big proposal to make it easier to set up startup businesses. So that is one step. But again, it's one step amongst many.
And France is set to roll out its own video conferencing platform. Do you see this as a genuine alternative for Europe, or is it too soon to tell at the moment?
It's still early days, but I mean, 40,000 users they are aiming to have, at the minute, and then moving on to having an awful lot more. The capability of Visio is pretty much one and the same. And also, we've seen just in most recent days, the European Parliament saying that they are stripping out AI usage on many software platforms, including things like Microsoft, because of fears of they don't know where that data is necessarily going. So, an alternative that doesn't have all of that stuff, an alternative that is Europe grown, I think is a one that they will be very keen on. So if someone is going to be doing this, then certainly I think it will be a European champion that will be put forward as the alternative to US hegemony.
Right, we'll leave it there for now. Chris Stokel-Walker in Newcastle in the UK. Thank you very much for joining us here on TRT World.